Hello and welcome to Cherries in Focus, episode 24. Happy New Year to absolutely everyone. We hope you're doing very, very well. And we've got lots to talk about. I do apologise straight away that we weren't here on a stream last week. I did feel unwell leading up to the stream, but thank you for all the kind messages. But we are here. We are going to cover off those 3 games over the festive period. I've got Jon Spark with me. I've also got Josh Wyatt and I've also got David Codron. We are very, very close to 2,000 subscribers. We've gone over 1950. So a little bit more effort and we are going to get there. It's something that we set ourselves a target to achieve. And we think we're going to do it very, very soon. So thank you for your help and continue with supporting the channel. Do hit the like button on this video. And of course, the interactive chat is open. So do say hello wherever you are in the world. And do tell us your favourite moment of 2023 for AFC Bournemouth. It can be absolutely anything. It doesn't have to be just a goal. Absolutely anything. Jon Spark, Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. How are you? What's your favourite moment of 2023?
Yeah, thanks. Happy New Year to everyone else as well, and Merry Christmas. As we, I suppose, doing it all in one this video feels like a while since we've done one of these, doesn't it? Yeah, I suppose moment of 2023. I suppose it is quite sort of like recency bias, but Dom Solanke's hat-trick header against Nottingham Forest is probably the one that comes to mind. That's my third visit in a row to Nottingham Forest Stadium, third win in a row, third time we've come from behind to win there in a row. Did we get 1-0 down in that game? I've forgotten.
You can verify that later if you want.
Yeah. But it was wonderful day, and great for Dom Solanke as well, the player that we've that I, as well, got a little bit of flack from on Beat the Drop when I mentioned that Solanke we turned down a bid for 40 million from West Ham for him, and I said, no, it needs to be a decent bit more than that. And Forrest Ant, who I was at the stadium with just after, he said, yeah, okay, I see your point now. Yeah, Solanke is absolute class. So he was fantastic, and it was a great win for us.
We'll get stuck into it. What a hat-trick it was. Much needed at the City ground. Our second guest, he's been on before on a fan debate show. This is Cherries in Focus, his debut. Josh, how are you? Happy New Year. What's your favourite moment of 2023?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on again, and I hope everyone had a good and happy holidays. And my favourite moment from last year would probably be Ouattara at Spurs, the last-minute winner. I just think the player as well who scored it was a special moment, and sort of I think that was the moment that kept us up, really, that felt like we were going to do it after that one and gave us the momentum. And it was a special away day, I think, because last year we didn't have too many of those.
Yeah, it's right up there. I mean, we have had a special away day this season recently up north, as we know. But not sure about the knee slide, Dango, but it was a great finish with your right peg as well. And our final guest this evening is David Codron from Australia. How are you? Happy New Year. And what was your favourite moment of 2023?
Thank you, Kirk, and Happy New Year. Well, I would also have to go with Dango at Spurs. It was my only away day for the season, travelling over from Australia, and the other home, and we lost 4-0. So it was pretty easy to choose between the two of those moments. But I suppose we're going to be different, then we'll have to go with that away win at Old Trafford this season.
Fantastic. And my one, completely a little bit left field, but not really. It's signing up Andoni Iraola. I'd love him to have an assistant. Maybe that's to come in 2024. But he has definitely lived up to everything we wanted when we signed him as a head coach. And more to come, please, Andoni, in 2024. Right, let's dive into the interactive chat for the first time this year. Hello, Chris. Hope you're doing well. Morgan Scott, thank you very much. Steve Connor, hope you're doing well. Mark Singleton, thank you very much. Cameron Meach, hope you're doing well. Stephen Dyer, positivity coming from Bill Foley. My highlight of 2023. Mark Cole, thank you so much for joining this moment of 2023 when we beat Newcastle 2-0. First time we saw what Iraola can bring. Love it. Alan, evening all, on the trophy yellow smiling, something like that. And Paul from Oz is also joining us. So yeah, tell us your favourite moment of 2023 throughout this stream and we'll show them on the screen. let's dive into it then, because we got to pick off 3 fixtures since the last episode, and we kept our unbeaten away run going at Nottingham Forest, made hard work of it a little bit, but we got the 3-2 Dom Solanke hat-trick. Then we went home on Boxing Day to beat Fulham comfortably 3-0. And then just recently we went to Spurs and we lost 3-1, but we gave it a right good go. What that does mean, though, at the halfway stage for Bournemouth after 19 games is we're 12th on 25 points. Jon, we'll cover off a little bit from the games. I want to talk about some players that have turned up in this festive period. But I tell you what, after 7-8 games at the start of the season, I'll be biting your hand off for 12 and 25 points.
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly after the first 8 or 9 games, however long it was before we played Everton, and we're going into the Burnley fixture off the back of no wins to start the season. But yeah, it's a shame that the run has come to an end. We had 4 wins in a row, which was our best run in the Premier League, tied with our best run in the Premier League. 4 away wins in a row, which I think was a new record for Bournemouth in the Premier League. It's just been such a really amazing period. I mean, if Andoni doesn't get Manager of the Month for December, then something's gone horribly wrong. And Solanke's with a really good shout of getting of Player of the Month as well. So it's been a fantastic culmination of as was mentioned in the chat of seeing what Iraola ball would look like and would become. And we'll get onto the Spurs game as well. But even that was just was so much more. Even if it wasn't the result we got last season, it was just such a different game, so much more expressive and exciting to watch and be a part of for watching that game. So yeah, it's looking brilliant under the gaffer.
It is, Josh, and it's exciting to go back to Dean Court. I wake up in the morning, I feel like I'm injecting the beautiful game into my veins again. We went on the road to Nottingham Forest, and I was very confident going into this. I think I predicted a draw, but behind the scenes, I was like, we can go and win there. I mean, the 2 times previous we had won, and I was a little bit worried about a little bit of a manager bounce. We know that Espirito Santo come in for them. That's what football does. But look, it was pretty even for the first quarter. Then we know there was a red card, but we then had to go behind to then get us kick-started, and Dom Solanke turned up, and look, we got the job done. We made hard work of it, but it was always going to be a tricky game at the City Ground, how it played out throughout the week.
I think you got it spot on there where we got the job done. I do think we were the better team. But I was nervous going into this one because, as you said, the manager bounce. And if you've seen Forest in recent weeks as well, they've been performing well under Nuno. And I think in the game, considering they had a red card, they made it hard work. Late on in that game, the crowd were getting behind them. And I think we were probably the team in decline, really, and Forest looked more likely to score for me. But, it's a moment of magic, and it's an amazing header from Dom, and, yeah, another 3 points, and it's a great away win.
It is a great away win, David, and we'll come to Dom Solanke in a moment, but I want to touch on another player that was in the starting lineup, a bit of a surprise here. We knew that we were going to have an issue at left-back. We only have one recognised left-back as it is. Kirk has posted before the game that he was pretty much injured, and I was hoping to maybe see someone like Tavernier at left back and maybe Ouattara or Sinisterra ahead of him. But as the lineups come out, David, it would be Dango Ouattara at left back, and automatically in my brain I was thinking, oh no, he's a little bit edgy off the ball. He's very edgy on the ball of late, and that put concerns into my head. I think I said to John and Aaron in the pub that I had concerns of him giving away a sloppy penalty, but he did all right. He did all right. Look, from a positional point of view from Dango, I don't think he's a left back, and clearly he'll probably admit that as well. What we have seen as we go into the Fulham conversation as well is his pace and his heading ability has definitely saved him in that role over those couple of games.
Yeah, I was also equally as worried when I saw that. I agree with you. I thought Tavernier was probably the most obvious choice. He's been there before, and also left-footed, which Andoni likes to have where possible, to have the correct foot on the correct side when talking about fullbacks. But yeah, very pleasantly surprised from my perspective, both from his defensive capabilities. Obviously, agreed that his positional naivety at times was questionable, but as you said, his pace got him out of trouble. admittedly against teams in and around us, so he wasn't up against world-class attackers. But yeah, he did the job as well as can be hoped for, and also really enjoyed his forward play and his ability to overlap and get in and advance behind the opposition defence. And maybe on another day and in later games, I think he had some really good crosses and provided some really good opportunities for our strikers or attackers, who unfortunately just didn't put them away.
Yeah, and Josh, coming back to you, just look at Dango Ouattara's heat map against Nottingham Forest and his overall performance, 7.9 on SofaScore. Someone in the chat said, what a clearance off the line. Was it going in, Josh? I'm not sure it was going in. However, is Dango to know that?
I think it might have been sneaking in. I think it was going to hit the post, but
Depends what camera angle, I think.
yeah, I think it was curling. It was definitely curling, but no, I mean, he said it with his positional awareness. Maybe he gets caught sometimes a bit flat-footed, but I mean, his pace is brilliant coming back, and he was strong in a tackle and he was strong in the air, and I think he defended really well. But I agree where I actually thought he looked most threatening in a Bournemouth shirt attacking recently, especially against Fulham. I think on the overlap he looked a bit more confident. I think just little pieces of skill which we wouldn't really see Dango Ouattara do. His pace on the attack as well is brilliant, and he is a good crosser of the ball. Sometimes maybe his eyes and his feet don't work together, but I mean, if he can keep confident and Donny keeps making him a better fullback, he could really push on and be a good addition in this side, I think.
Yeah. John, it was almost Dango Ouattara who put the ball in the box for our first goal at the City Ground, but it would end up coming back out to Senesi, who would put a decent ball in. Now, it's taken Dom Solanke nearly 50 games to score a header, and then he scores 2 in one game, and he is becoming a really fantastic striker. Look, I had doubts about Dom Solanke before we got relegated. He wasn't a striker that wanted to be really ambitious in front of goal. He would rather get assists. And then in the Championship in the first season, he got 15 goals and he was hitting shots down the goalkeeper's throat. And then he really come alive in that second Championship season. He was finding angles. He was being more selfish. Then last season, he had to do a bit of a role at times under 2 different head coaches. And now, and I'm happy to admit it, I think we're really seeing an all-round striker. And you don't have many of them in the Premier League.
No, he's the complete striker. There's no doubt about that for me. And I did feel he's been on the road to that for the last sort of 3 seasons, really. But what you've sort of got in terms of, last season he was asked to do a very, as you said, a very different role, an incredibly defensive role. Not really able to. Well, he wasn't really given many chances last season. He was, I think, throughout all of the last sort of 3 years, he's been roughly online with his XG, with a slight underperformance in each season, really, by maybe half a goal. But this year, he's found that confidence. I mean, that helps a lot by scoring the first goal of our season at home to West Ham. So it gives him a great footing to build on from there. But he's just got that confidence. He's being told to play very central, but he's also, what I feel has helped him a lot more recently, is having a player that's a lot closer to him and supporting him better. Obviously, it's been Kluivert in sort of more recent games, but Billing does a decent job of that generally. But yeah, it's just a case of, I mean, he said himself a little while I think after the Nottingham Forest, he said, "Feed me and I'll score." And that's just the confidence that he's going into games like right now. And he's still going to miss the odd few chances. Heck, the player that missed the most big chances last season was Haaland. You keep giving chances. He's going to miss the odd one, and obviously we'll come to Spurs. He missed a really good header that he should have scored right at the start of the Spurs game. He completely messed it up. So he's still got a lot to work on with his headering. But those 2 against Forest were amazing. 2 very different styles of headers as well. One, a guiding sort of a beautiful cross from Senesi, just guiding that up and over the keeper. And then the third one, having to get so much power into it. Admittedly, terrible marking from Forest. He was completely unmarked for a free header, but to get it from essentially where he was near the penalty spot into that top corner, where even if the keeper getting a hand on it couldn't keep it out. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And the second one, to be fair, is just showing the kind of confidence that he's got at the moment. Very similar to his West Ham goal. He's just the first one to move at the moment. He's got that killer instinct right now to make the first move, and that's already got him a few goals this season. And it'll get him several more before we finish the year, I reckon.
And David, something happened on Boxing Day. There was a great vibe inside Dean Court, and we were taking on Fulham. And we always have a good vibe against Fulham as well. We've got a pretty good record against them. I felt like we were playing a Fulham side again at home that weren't the strongest. So previously they didn't have Willian and Mitrovic. This time they didn't have Jimenez and Willian. And I felt like you get a Fulham, and I don't think they were going to trouble us, and they didn't really. But in that second half, talking about Dom Solanke again, we got a thing called a penalty. David, I had to look it up just to see what it is, and it explains that there's a round thing in the box that you put the ball on. Get 12 yards, you ultimately get a free shot. It took 609 days since the last one. It wasn't the last one that Dom Solanke took against Fulham in the Championship, because he had one at Swansea, but he did have a penalty against Fulham in the Championship down the North Stand end. I think he went the other side previously. This time he went that way to the keeper's left, put it away, and he took his numbers to 12 Premier League goals.
Yeah, who knew all you had to do was stop with the ball in the box and somebody would run into you? Should have tried that 600 days ago. But yeah, no, he definitely looked really confident stepping up. So he must have been taking them in training, because obviously hasn't had any opportunities in games. But yeah, it was just a professional performance from the entire team. Like you said, Fulham's attacking threat were non-existent. The main players that provide that attacking threat were out, and we just controlled the game, and a little bit of fancy footwork and running through the Fulham defence by Scott, setting up Clivert, and we're on our way.
Yeah, Stephen Dyer says in the chat, Solanke not playing so deep. I mean, he's everywhere. He is everywhere, but he's in the right places now, and he's offering a press. He just does so much work for the team. But ultimately, like Jon's spoken about, he's in the box. He's anticipating a number 9 movement, and he's adding goals. Josh, that Fulham game, though, at 0-0, we needed something special to unlock that defence of Fulham, break them down, and then we could start to add more goals. And it come from a player that's showed promise. He come into the club on a big money from Bristol City. He had to come in where there was injuries, play a deeper role. And funnily enough, he's got himself fit. And guess what? He's got to play a deeper role again, because we've got injuries at centre defensive midfielder. But he was the driving force to then get an assist for Justin Kluivert, who took his goal just about. David might disagree, but he took his goal just about. It went under the goalkeeper. Alex Scott, what a guy, what a drive. That's what he's got in the locker. I do want him to play higher up when we've got more players fit, and we've got Tyler Adams and Lewis Cook fully fit. I do want to see Alex Scott potentially in that number 8 or number 10, because he's the one that can play between the lines. He's the one that can really unnerve defensive teams. And he was the player that drove through that midfield of Fulham and got the assist for Justin Kluivert.
Yeah, and that's why we signed Alex Scott, isn't it? That press resistance, the fancy footwork, the Guernsey Grealish, if you will. And I thought what was big about that for a player of his age as well, because he did something similar at Forest, and he gave the ball away for a first Forest goal as well. He's made a mistake, and then the week after he's taken the ball from almost his own half into the box, and he's had the composure as well to give the ball to Kluivert. I mean, we saw him obviously at Spurs as well in more of an 8 role when he come on for Christie, and he scored 2 goals, if you will, one without VAR. But you know, if we can keep him fit, and maybe we do push him in a more 8 role. I mean, some people have been asking for him in the number 10 role as well. But you know, he's 20 years old. I mean, the potential on him must be big.
Yeah, massive. Jon, he's going to be a big time player for us. And I said, Steve made a good point a few episodes ago. He says, look, we all want Alex Scott in this side, but the way we were playing at the time, how'd you squeeze him in? I mean, you squeeze him in. I mean, this player's got to be put on the team sheet, and you build it around him, and the likes of Solanke, and you might have Sabani. You got that spine, and then you build the team around it.
Yeah, to a point, but he's 20. Like, let's just hold off for a minute, because we do have, Cook in sparkling form. We've got Christie playing, I don't know what kind of player I'd assign to his role. The guy that never stops. He's little Energizer bunny that goes around with real quality to go with it, and providing some really nice passing from sort of deeper positions than he was taking up as a number 10. And as was quite rightly pointed out by Josh, he messed up for Forest's first goal. Totally unnecessary. Could have played it past, tried to play it past the only striker that was anywhere near him. And in the end, we conceded when we should never have really looked like doing so from that position. So he's still young. He's still going to make mistakes. But he's, very, very intelligent player. And has got all the qualities to go big in the. I mean, he's played basically everywhere in midfield for Bristol before he came to us, and we've obviously played him now as a 6 and an 8. And he could play as the 10. But I do feel as though that Fulham game was probably one of the best Bournemouth. Actually, no, that's weird. It wasn't one of the best performances from Bournemouth because I actually don't think we played that well. It was just the most comfortable victory I've ever seen us in, possibly in the Premier League. It was, yes, Fulham didn't offer much. I do think that their striker actually was one of the most difficult for our defenders to handle. He did really well at holding the ball up, but Fulham just couldn't get into our third and keep the ball for very long. Never looked like scoring, and it was the most comfortable victory I've ever seen us produce. And it was, obviously a little bit of shine put on the end with Cini's goal that we have to mention as well, which was a glorious strike. It was just a really pleasant game to watch for us, and was really enjoyable.
It was a good Christmas vibe, I must admit, David. And Sinisterra is a player since Crystal Palace, I think, where he started to really show what he can do. And it was an absolute rocket. The minute it left his foot, it was only going in one place. I don't even know why Leno died for it. I mean, you just see it in because it was that good. It was a great strike. I don't know where we are with Sinisterra long term, but I am seeing a player, and I don't want to do any disjustice really to Jayden Anthony because I think he is a fan favourite. I think he's come through the ranks. I've got a lot of time for Jayden Anthony. But when I look at Sinisterra now, as he's developing, and you can really see what the recruitment team saw in him, is a guy that wants to take on a fullback. He wants to play forward, and he has got a weapon in that right foot. Yeah,
absolutely. I've been a big fan of Sinisterra back from when he played at Leeds, when he actually did play, because he was injured a lot. Somebody who's got so many weapons, the ability to, on the ball, to manipulate it. His weight of passing, I think, is probably the best of our three main wingers. And the ability to shoot. The amount of times I've seen our players shooting, the ball just rolls along the ground into the goalkeeper's gloves. It's just really nice to see somebody who has got one in the locker that he can put in the top corner. So it's nice to have, and I'm pretty hopeful. I hope that we do keep him. But obviously time will tell and see what happens with that one.
What that did mean, Josh, as the full-time whistle went at home against Fulham, was that our form was really, 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 really good. So let's take a look at the short form guide as that full-time whistle went. And we were the best team in the league, Josh. I mean, if you finish the season now, we're picking up the trophy. But that was 7 unbeaten. That's a joint record for the club. And then I think we were 4 unbeaten away from home. That's a record. And 4 consecutive wins in a row is also a record that I think Jon's mentioned already in this episode. And what an unbeaten run. What performances we've had, different performances, and it's just been a joy to watch. And this is what most people wanted to see when Bill Foley switched it up.
Yeah, I think it has been a joy to watch, and it's nice going to a football match and having a smile on your face watching them. But I think the thing that I've enjoyed most personally is the players having a smile on their face and seeming really together. I mean, we did have it at the end of last year, but I don't think fans, managers, players have all been together really since Eddie has won. And I think the club just felt like that in this time, and we really felt like we just couldn't be beaten at that time. And someone said in the chat, the build up for the Sinisterra goal, how good that was. Just some of the football we couldn't have asked for much better considering the start of the season. I mean, really poor, but it really seems like it's clicking. And Spurs were unlucky, but I'm sure we can continue and we'll be fine this year.
I mean, it only feels like yesterday, Jon, in a way, that we were looking at the squad going, is Smith up to it now? Do we have any partnerships? Do we have any leaders? Do we have any sort of cohesion? And now I look at it and go, well, we do have partnerships. We've got Sabani and Senesi that have done really well. We've got a midfield of Christie and Cook. Smith looks like he's rolling back the years. You've got Dom Solanke scoring goals like Callum Wilson done, if not better. And it's so weird how a few months and good performances and confidence building can just change like that. And I'm loving it. I know we're not going to win every week, but it's been a great spell for us over Christmas.
Yeah, I totally agree. I do. It's interesting because partnerships is something that I know that we've talked about before in terms of that was basically the Eddie blueprint, is that you had partnerships all over the pitch. You had the two strikers, the two centre midfielders, the two fullbacks, and the two sets of outside players. But this team is not necessarily about the partnerships. It's can the players follow the plan? And you know, in the first sort of like first 6 games, it was like, okay, they're learning the plan, and then, you know, it'll come to fruition. And then it was Arsenal, Everton, and it was like, okay, they've got no idea what they're doing. And obviously later down the line, it turns out Dominic Solanke admitted to basically like, yeah, this was all going over our heads. It was too difficult. We weren't able to put in the plan. It was, and then I do feel like Iraola sort of pulled back a little bit on some of the things, tried to make sure they got more of the basics down, and then the confidence builds after Burnley and the rest of the games. We start getting those wins, and whilst, you know, I think we've had occasional issues with depth, I think generally you can see the strength of the squad coming together with that sort of comfort of everyone knowing their roles, knowing their jobs, being able to implement them. You know, still feel I think we can definitely do a little bit of business in January. You know, certainly need to shore up that left back position above all else. But yeah, it's all come together really well, particularly over obviously the course of the last sort of month and a half.
Good evening to everyone joining us on YouTube and Twitter. We are streaming live. Wayne Walden's just joined us. He's a Fulham fan. He does enjoy this channel, though. He does pop in. So we have just spoke about that win against Fulham. We'll go on to Spurs in a minute, David. But I do want to pick off a few points from Nick in the chat. Nick Osborne, the build-up and finish to Sinisterra goal just wow. Ever seen a better team goal at Dean Court? I don't know. I mean, not a team goal. I'm thinking like Charlie Daniels and Matt Ritchie's goals, but they weren't team goals. They were just wonder strikes. Nick Osborne also says, David, can't believe I'm watching games mostly on the telly, feeling confident, not missing the torture of sitting back, trying to defend a 1-0 lead or hang on for a point. Because what I've seen in this good run, and even a little bit before, Andoni is making like-for-like changes. We're taking wingers off for wingers. We're keeping that proactive attack going. We want to win games. We want to sort of close out games. From Crystal Palace 1-0, Kiefer Moore scores 2-0. And this is very different to what we've seen under Scott Parker, maybe, definitely under Gary O'Neill, where we're trying to hold on to leads. You can think of like Southampton when we're 1-0 up, and if it wasn't for Shea Adams' toe, that's 1-1. And there's a few scenarios like that. And I love it. We're going for games. I know we're not going to win every week, but it's the football that I want to enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we're talking about Solanke and his goal scoring increase, we talked a lot about what he's done to improve that. I think a big contribution to his output has been the proactivity of the team and the amount of chances that he's been exposed and provided with. I can't remember, probably since Eddie days, having 10, 15 shots on goal, having 10 plus corners per game. The amount of attacking that we're doing, whether we're behind, level or in front, it's just been a pleasure to watch, and just really enjoying this spell of football.
And for those that do like stats, I know Andoni's already wrapped up a few records. He's chasing down another one. So I think Josh might know this as well because he's all over a lot, really. So I think we're on 10, 11 consecutive games scoring. And I think the record in the Premier League is 12. So if we do score against Liverpool and we do score after that, that could be another record, because Andoni's chasing these down now, Josh. You know, some outside media are like, you've made a mistake, you're going to pay for it, and it's clicked and it's working, and we're looking fantastic. And we'll go on to Tottenham in a moment. But yeah, I mean, scoring in every game. We want to go to football games to see goals, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we will talk about Spurs obviously in a minute, but going to Tottenham and having 24 shots. When have we ever done that before? We're playing with braveness. I mean, as you said about the subs, I just love when we're winning, when you're bringing on Sinisterra or someone. It's just, we're not trying to sit back. We're going for another goal. We're gonna shoot more. We're gonna go for it. And it's the football I want to see, and I'm sure it's fun to be on the pitch playing it as well. So yeah, it's all going well.
Okay, John. So it was New Year's Eve, and I think we lost last New Year's Eve against Crystal Palace 2-0. I think we lost at home. I can remember being there. It was terrible.
One of our worst performances of the season.
Yeah, it was terrible. I think it was last year. I'm sure it was. And we went to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They must have been panicking a bit. They had more suspensions. They've got a depleted squad. We obviously beat them 3-2 last season. We'd had this good run leading up to Tottenham that I just said, go for it. You've got nothing to lose now. They should be favourites, even with their issues that they're having. And we did go for it. Like Josh said, we had 24 shots. Some of the differences were they were more clinical. However, didn't start great. Neto handed them a chance to take the lead, which they took. We've had these conversations about Neto earlier on in the season. He seemed to have had a break, come out the squad, gone back in, and because we were defending better and the confidence had come into the side, we were okay. Is it a case that Neto goes under the radar when we are winning football matches and we are doing very well? But if you have an off day and you're not taking your chances and Neto does throw in a mistake, it's highlighted again?
Well, what I would say is that he didn't exactly miss a save that I would expect him to make. In a lot of recent games, I can't think of a mistake that he's made. I would say that it's not about him going under the radar necessarily, because I think he has actually. You go through, going back through our games: Fulham, Forest, United, Palace, Villa, Sheffield United. I can't think of any real mistakes that he's made in any of those games. I mean, he may have messed up passing out the back, maybe against Sheffield United. I didn't really catch most of Palace, but it's not that he's been making mistakes and it's just not noticed. He just hasn't been making any. But that, of course, is not to say that he wouldn't make them again. I do think that last season he very much got away with the fact that he made a lot of mistakes last season, but they never cost us a goal. And that is one of the reasons why everyone was so enamored with Neto and why we all felt that he was such a good goalkeeper and were pleased for him to stay on, is because even when he did make mistakes, we didn't concede. It just didn't happen. Not once, really, do I remember last season that happening. Whereas this season, he's made a bunch of mistakes that have led to goals. And when you say mistakes, it may not even be necessarily a mistake to the goalkeeper or to the keeper's staff. It's that he's punched something that we'd all rather he catch, and then there's been a goal. That happened twice against Everton, and in this game, when it was showing up on Match of the Day, and it was because I was there, I thought he just made a horrible mistake and just completely messed up his clearance. But no, he's trying to pass it to Christie, and if he hits that ball slightly harder or aims it 2 yards to the right, it ends up with Christie. He plays a first-time ball round the corner, and we've beaten 6 of their men in 2 passes. That's the risk reward, and that's what Iraola will have told him to do. I was very frustrated with him when it happened, but looking at it back, I'm just like, that's just as much down to the manager as it is the player. And I spoke to Wolverine on Forest Fan TV in our build up to the Forest game. I said, he asked me about the keeper, and I said, yeah, there's no issues with Neto at the moment, but I guarantee you there will be questions called up against him at some point in the future because he will make another mistake, and he has. But I do think this one will probably be blown more out of proportion than it needs to. It will be further down the line that if he continues to make that exact same style of mistake, then there are more serious issues, and we need to look at bringing in a more capable ball-playing goalkeeper. But I mean, there was a comment, I can't remember who it was, somewhere in the chat about that we should maybe look at bringing Travers in instead. Because he's fed. Oh, there we go. It was Luke Andrews. Bringing Travers because he's fed up with Neto's mistakes. Travers is no better than Neto on the ball. He's going to make the exact same mistake at some point further down the line. So it's just like you've got to sometimes place your keeper's strengths, and sometimes Neto will make those mistakes now and again. And with a pressing team like Tottenham, they were able to capitalize on it. So it's a difficult balance that you have to strike sometimes.
Yeah, tough conditions, Josh. You were there at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium when Neto makes that mistake, and we're in good form, and you sort of like, well, we're playing well, so we're probably going to create lots of chances. But how are you feeling when that first goal goes in? Because it is maybe an uphill battle then. You're on the road.
Yeah, I do completely agree with John. I think, when that has gone in, the Spurs crowd are on you, and they're sort of in their rhythm. I do think we started okay as well. I thought we were on top, and it was just a silly error. And I don't think Neto's been bad as of late, but yeah, as you said, when you make a mistake and they're going to score from it, it is going to be scrutinised. And I think I saw a quote from the Echo that said he chose the impossible pass or something like that. So it's one of them. And Spurs are just, when they're pressing, they are going to capitalise. And I mean, they had 3 big chances also, and they scored 3 of them. It's just world-class players. You give the ball away like that, what do you expect, really?
But David, it was all about just trying to get something from the fixture. I think there were chances both ends, but we absolutely dominated the shots, not on target, but the shots. Alex Scott, we've already spoken about, has got his Premier League debut goal, or his first goal in the Premier League, and that's great for him on a personal level. Just some of the goals we conceded, as I said, tough conditions. I mean, I was just trying to gather as much as I could from people and stats. And I was looking at it, David, going, this does not sound or look like a 3-0 game at that point.
No, definitely not. I remember after them scoring the first goal, and we would have a chance, and I'm like, "Oh, we're gonna rue the fact that we've missed that one." And then we'd have another chance, and eventually I transitioned to thinking we're going to be okay here, because eventually the way we're playing, we're going to score. We're going to score here. Unfortunately, we just missed a bucket load of chances, and that ended up, it was always going to be difficult to maintain that through the 90 minutes and not concede, not give up very good chances at the other end. And ultimately, yeah, with the conditions and Aaron's having to come on, and unfortunately he wasn't quite in line with the defence, and they caught us for that Sun goal. And actually, I can't remember that. He may have been out of line for the Richarlison goal, but yeah, unfortunately, it just was ultimately going to be a case where they were going to have chances on the counter-attack. They missed a couple of easy ones, and it was just a game where they took their chances, and it took us until the 80th minute to take ours, and we move on. And yeah, hopefully next game we take those chances.
Yeah, definitely. Just finally in the chat then, just to cover off this Spurs, John, I mean, there are conversations about potentially having a conversation with Arsenal about Aaron Ramsdale. I don't think that really has any hope. I mean, I'd absolutely love to see it. I said earlier on in the season, before a ball was kicked, just to quickly go back to Neto, I said, look, I'm comfortable that Neto will be our goalkeeper, and I think we can get through this season. I felt we had enough in the squad. I was confident that Andoni Iraola would come in and make us an attractive team to play in. I didn't feel we'd be in a relegation scrap, really. I know the first 7 games didn't start well, and I sit here now thinking I don't think we're going to be in a relegation scrap. We've got about 15 more points to pick up before we can really be comfortable, and then let's see how high we can finish. I'm still in the same position though, John, is that you've got to make a decision about Mark Travers, right? And I think it's got to happen very soon. You've got to decide, is Mark Travers got the potential to be a number 1? And if we're not confident in that, we have to be thinking next summer about bringing in a goalkeeper like Aaron Ramsdale, or someone that's going to be younger, but going to be the next goalkeeper for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I do agree with you that in terms of like Neto's age to an extent, but I think he's 31. Is he 33?
I want to think 33.
He's still in his early 30s, so I mean he's still got 5 decent years as a goalkeeper to come, and he is very much a middle of the Premier League standard goalkeeper. He's not, he went to Barcelona and Juventus, but he was only ever there as a backup. So I think people forget, like, Boric wasn't exactly great for long periods under Eddie. We had plenty of times when he rushed out a goal unnecessarily, made howlers, trying to block something and couldn't kick with his feet very well. So I do think that there is a tendency to be frustrated at Neto because of a few of the things that he does. But I think for the position that we're in and the position that we're looking to get to, I do think that goalkeeper is not really that high on the priority list right now. It could be, and it could be the way that, but we might already have the solution in Travers. So there's definitely conversation to be had about the goalkeeper position, but it's certainly, I don't feel like it's necessarily one that the management are going to be too concerned about at the moment. But we'll see what that's like and what position we can achieve this season. To finish off the Spurs chat, I do think that that first goal makes a huge difference in the game. It's I mean, no duh that it changes the game state, but it really does allow Spurs to just play the best of both worlds in their game. They can still press high, they can still have quite a high line, but they've got such venom in the counter attack. But then weirdly, the main reason that we conceded and didn't really capitalize and didn't continue to make more chances was firstly because Ouattara went off. Which is not something I was expecting to say. Aaron's clearly very rusty, miles behind the line for the second goal, and then just completely gets done by very basic movement from Brennan Johnson and doesn't have the pace to get back at him like Ouattara would have been able to do. And then I do find, as much as it's kind of like it seems to be a set of substitutions for Iraola, he always makes these subs, but Kluivert and Sinisterra going off on this, 65th minute or whatever it was. Christie going off was big as well, but those two were just... Sinisterra and Kluivert were combining so nicely. I thought Kluivert had one of his best games. Sinisterra was fantastic. And, Semenyo did nothing for the most part coming on. He really was quite ineffective. And I've been disappointed with Tavernier over the last couple of games as well. So
be careful. Yeah. He's my fave. So be very careful.
But I mean, come on. You saw him against Fulham. He really didn't do anything in that game. And he was frustratingly slow on the ball against Spurs. You just got to see 50% of our attacks in those first 30 minutes went down the left-hand side. Tavernier wasn't getting involved much in the game because we weren't getting anything through him. So I do think he needs a rest. And we've got the players to come in for him. So I would like to give him some downtime and hoping he comes in off the bench and makes an impact in later games.
Got an assist though, Josh, didn't he? Marcus Tavernier? I'm sure he got an assist.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I think he did, but I am going to have to tread on eggshells and agree with John. I have to say, Tav has been poor. I thought he was poor at Luton as well for however long that game lasted. And I did think he was poor. And Cine shouldn't have come off as well, I agree. He had some nice runs and good control. I thought he was dangerous.
You lot are very brave tonight, talking about Marcus Tavernier like this. To be fair, and I'm going to say this, my boy, he's a massive Dom Solanke fan, and he goes, "He's my goat." That's what my boy says, and he knows how much I like Tavernier. But he has said, "Dad, Tavernier, he's been a bit off it," and he said that after Fulham. To be fair, but no, I like Tavernier. I think he's very adaptable. I think he's very versatile. I think he gives us lots of options when he's on it. He's on it. I think it takes him a while to get going as well, and then he peaks and troughs potentially. But when he's really on it, I want to see him in the team. But fair comments, what you've said. Let's just go back to an interesting comment in the chat from Mark Singleton. Hey, Kirk, has Steve been kidnapped by Mickey Mouse? So Steve obviously had Christmas in Paris with his family. Steve is back. I think he's arrived back late. Steve is actually going to be on a show on Thursday. So we've got another stream coming up. So we didn't have a stream last week. So, hey, why don't we go for 2 streams this week? So we're going to have a stream on Thursday, 8 p.m. on YouTube and Twitter, UK time. We're going to have an FA Cup special. Steve Hensman will be with me and 2 other AFC Bournemouth fans. So make sure you join us for that. We are currently on Cherries in Focus episode 24. We're coming to the last part of this show where I'm going to ask the guys what they think we need to do in the January transfer window. Do we need to do anything in the January transfer window? But it is a good time for you on YouTube to smash the like button, subscribe, and if you're watching this back on replay, tell us your thoughts in the comments. smash that like button then, especially for Josh and David, who are joining us on their first debut of Cherries in Focus. And Josh, now the tags for Twitter, X, you'll see it below their name. Go and follow Josh because he does some really good articles as well, and he's got some great opinions on X. And Josh, I'm sure you're going to have your eyes over AFC Bournemouth in the January transfer window. I think I've read that Bill Foley said we're not going to be that active. It all depends maybe on what goes out. What are you expecting from January? Some small thoughts. We might do some content through this January transfer window, but what's your early thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to be boring and say it depends on outgoings, but no, loans I think would be my ideal one. I think backup left back and bit of competition for Dom. I suppose you could make a case for a midfielder, but that depends on Tyler Adams, and I've got no idea on that. So yeah, probably loans and depends on outgoings for me.
Steve will be back for QPR. He's going to the game. Yes, David. Will Lloyd Kelly be a Bournemouth player at the end of this January transfer window? Will Jon Spark be a Bournemouth player? Of course he will. He's going nowhere.
Yeah, I think somebody would have to come in with an extraordinary offer to get Bournemouth to accept a bid for Solanke. So pretty confident he'll still be there. Kelly, I've got no idea about. I haven't really kept up with what the latest that's coming out of the club. Obviously, he's injured at the moment, and there are some clubs circling. So I think he will obviously dictate. And obviously, the injury to Kirk is whether there is some business done for left back. I think if we have all those two available, and now Dango Ouattara as a third choice left back, I don't think the urgency is there. And I had that exchange with John over Twitter about that a few weeks ago.
I missed this.
Yeah.
Enlighten me.
And then I think with striker, I think we'll see what happens with Kiefer Moore, but I think it wouldn't hurt to get a different sort of backup striker in. Maybe go back in for Patson Daka from Leicester and see whether that's something that we can get. But I think those are the only two, and obviously depending on Kelly. And
yeah, I mean, I was thinking this about Dango Ouattara, John. I know we've spoken about him in this episode, but although he did well on enthusiasm and he put in some good performances, I was sitting there thinking, has he solved his problem to get more minutes? And has he solved our problem about not having enough left backs? But I think as time goes on, I'm not sure he's a real left back, and he might get caught out over time when that enthusiasm comes down a little bit. But he could probably still do a job there. His pace and his heading ability, as I've said, definitely can add value at left back. But I suppose Bill Foley spent all the money he wanted to do to secure Premier League status last year. I don't think we're in any danger really of going down. So does he splash a lot of cash now?
No, I don't think so. And he's gone on record already to say that he thinks it's going to be a quiet window, and said that the door is well and truly bolted for outgoings in terms of our big players. But I'm sure he will be very much considering any options that come in, offers that come in for Kiefer Moore. I believe he's been heavily linked to Cardiff. He turned down Millwall in the summer, and he doesn't really fit in the Bournemouth in what we want from a Bournemouth striker. I do think that, maybe if he was a bit younger, maybe if he was in a bit more form, then he's a really useful option to bring off the bench. But when he came on against Forest, everyone around me was just sort of like, "Oh my God, really? We're resorting to this now, are we?" He's not got a lot, unfortunately. His credit in the bank has started to run dry amongst Bournemouth fans, I think, unfortunately, which is a shame. But obviously will always be remembered for that goal against Forest in the Championship. But certainly if he goes out, I would expect to see some sort of movement even with the striker. I do like the idea of Semenyo playing as the backup striker, but I think that in the Stoke game, he certainly didn't impress, and his other opportunities to play up as a 9 haven't really shown him too well. So I think I prefer to bring, a genuine competition and something up front. Daka certainly is a much more just run beyond the lines, has the lightning pace to really take advantage of an opposition high line, and could be something a little bit different for certain games, that particularly against big teams that are going to press us high, would have been very interesting against Spurs, actually, I think, if we'd had him. And then I do think a reserve left back, just a loan, 6-month loan as competition, and Kelly would operate more as a centre back. Those are sort of my thoughts. But I do to just put on Dango Ouattara there at left back as well. I do think he is still a decent option at left back for purely because of his pace. I think one of Spurs' most impressive players for me in that game was Destiny Udogie. There were 2 times that we got in behind, and he comes out of nowhere and just takes it off Solanke's toe. And even if you have someone that's slightly out of position, to have that kind of pace that the Ouattara has can get him back. I mean, I haven't really rated Kyle Walker's positioning as a defender for years, but it doesn't really matter because he's the fastest player on the planet and he'll just get back and beat anyone. He doesn't need positioning. He just manages to make it work. I'm not saying Ouattara's as fast as Walker, but it works really nicely for someone at fullback to be able to make that covering, those covering yards. So having said that, I do see him as a third choice and just in emergency circumstances, but it gives him something to help get him out of bad situations.
Yeah, Luke Andrew seems to be happy with what we've got to cover left back. David, what I was thinking is if we actually sort of change our minds to actually think that Dango's a left back, then I have concerns that the recruitment team might want to go out and buy another winger.
Yeah, we've only got 7 or 8 now. No, I think that's one position that we're well and truly well stocked in. So I don't expect to have any business in there probably for the next few years.
Yeah, this one dropped today, Josh, about Reguilon is available on loan. Again, that might be a tough deal to do. I mean, he's all right. He's done all right, and he's played at some top clubs. But yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Again, that might be a tough one to get over the line.
Yeah, I did see we were linked, but I don't know. I think there's interest from Serie A or somewhere like that, bigger clubs really. But I like Maatsen. That's the one I'd like from Chelsea if he was available. Just quick, sort of gets forward, really fits the bill. Similar to Kirkes maybe, but I think he's a good player and he'd fit quite well for left back. But Reguilon, if it's depth, I'd take him. But if we can get someone like Maatsen in, I'd much prefer that.
Yeah, I think
wages might be an issue.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I do think instead of us going after this window like we've previously done to go up and then secure our status, I think we're going to see how this plays out. We'll definitely, I'm sure, have a plan, and the recruitment team would have been working for months leading up to January. Coming back to the striker situation, Dave, and I don't disagree with what John's saying and many are saying about Kiefer Moore. I think the guy should have massive respect for what he's done for the club. And Daka playing at Leicester, not sure. And I know that we were highly linked with him on deadline day. The only thing I would say, David, is it's going to be a hard task to bring a decent striker to the club that's effectively probably going to play backup.
Yeah, that's always the struggle, is that you've got strikers everyone wants to play, but strikers definitely want to play and score goals. And when their opportunities are limited to 20 minutes off the bench, then and with Solanke, who's been playing 90 minutes, there's probably going to be a lot of games where he doesn't see any action. It is going to be a hard sell, but we'll see. We'll see what the club can do.
Yeah, Josh, do you have some details on Daka?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on Daka. He has been relatively back in that Leicester team in January. I think he scored 4 in 5 games at one point, and it was averaging a goal or assist every 65 minutes. And I think he scored 9 in his last 8 international games. So he is on form. I think Tom Cannon came back in, though, as of late for Leicester and scored some goals. So I'm not too sure because they have so many attacking options there. But you've got to think of AFCON as well. I think Daka's going to that. So, it's one of them ones where if we can get him on loan with maybe an option to buy, it's a good deal because I agree with John where it's a profile that I really want is the pace of Daka. As Andoni, a lot of the time at Bilbao when they played big teams, he went with a 4-4-2. And I think Daka could link up with Don quite nicely. And it's just that pacing behind late in games where tied defenses, you can really punish them with someone like Daka, I think.
Yeah. And this came out today, John. I think James Hill is returning back to the club. What do you think that's telling us? Does that mean that Lloyd Kelly's going out, or is it just us exercising another option at the back?
I think that could well be probably. With Kelly out, it means that we only have 3 fit centre backs, I would say, at the moment, with Mepham being the third choice. Hill obviously has got his Premier League. Well, not he's appeared in his first Premier League game. He didn't start, obviously, in the first game of the season against West Ham. It wasn't long after that he went to Blackburn. From the sounds of things, he's done decently well over there as well at Blackburn. I think I remember he went to was it Hearts in the Championship in the Scottish Premiership last season?
Didn't he play in
And
a back three as well?
I think he did a bit, but I think it was more so that he really wasn't. It was sort of like his first game. He was like apparently immense for them, and then it was out of sight, out of mind for Bournemouth fans, and didn't realise he was getting a lot of stick from Hearts fans. Right. So I was concerned about his development. If he's not cutting it in the third fourth best team in the Scottish Premiership, which is essentially League One level, is he going to be able to cut it higher up? And if he's doing well in the Championship, then that really suits us, and bodes well. And he's got the physical attributes to do it. I really do think that, and I think that at times, I think he showed some pretty nice touches in pre-season and was okay against West Ham when he came on. So yeah, I think if he's not going to get any game time, then I would prefer him just to stay at Blackburn. But if it is a serious case of squad depth issues, then keep him around. Hopefully Kelly gets fit before the end of January, and if necessary, he can go back on into Blackburn right at the end of the deadline.
So we'll see how the January transfer window plays out here on Cherries Red Army. If it looks like it's going to be very active, then we might kick into some transfer videos. Otherwise, we might just cover off a few bits here or there. This has been episode 24, though. David, it's been some interesting conversations. We've had to wrap up three fixtures over the festive period, and overall, it's been fantastic for the club. But your sort of summarization, shall I say, 19 games, 12th again, just where you are, and are you positive about the second half of the season?
Oh, very positive. The last time I was on, I was telling you we might need to rethink our expectations of 11th or 12th, and we've got there at the halfway stage. So what was originally a just do everything to survive season is now a season where we've got the opportunity to push for that top half, and the football's been great, so just bring on 2024 and the rest of the season, and we'll see where it takes us.
Yeah, Josh, are you happy about where we are right now? Because for me, it's all about just chasing down 38, 39, 40 points, and then where can we get to?
Yeah, I'm looking up, not down, I think, at the minute, and just in awe of some of our players. I think we've got some real talent, and the future is going to be very bright. So, if we could get anywhere in mid-table, I'll be very happy.
I love the way Josh said that, John, looking up rather than down. That's a nice feeling. And we have set ourselves a challenge of trying to replicate Brighton and get into Europe as quickly as possible. I need a holiday, or I need an away day somewhere in Europe. John, it's good times at the moment. I'm very happy. I think I predicted at the start of the season for us to finish 13th. We're currently 12th. And the way the season's unraveled, there's no reason why we can't try and fight for those places as close to 10th.
Yeah, absolutely. We've hit we've finished a day in 10th already. Obviously, now 3 or so points behind that position, but with a game in hand. Great news about Tom Lonkeur as well. Obviously, he posted on Instagram. So great to see that he's up and about, and I hope that he's able to find a path in or his career in football, even if it's not on the pitch. For his health. So great news on that. But yeah, we've obviously got some big games coming up. You'll be discussing the cup game on Thursday with our second show of the week. But Liverpool, West Ham, Forest, Fulham, definitely some points available in those games, and keep looking onwards and upwards.
West Ham midweek again, evening game. Been done again. And it's a rubbish stadium as well. Not like rubbish as it looks. It's just not very football, is it?
Running track, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. John, thank you very much. Good to see you again. Great that we're back on the live streams. 2024, first one ticked off.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for everyone joining us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Josh, thank you for contributing on this one. Hope you've had fun and you've had some really good input. So have a good week. Keep up with everything. Let me know because I'll follow your stuff as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again, and good luck on the Thursday show, and up the cherries as always.
Thank you very much. And David, over in Australia, absolutely loving the cherries, keeping up where you can. I mean, you must lose some sleep, David, on occasions, but you're there, you're getting behind the team.
Yeah, every week lose a lot of sleep on the weekends. But yeah, no, it's great to be here. It's always a pleasure to contribute, and thanks for having me. And up the cherries.
Yep, and just like David, quick mention to our monthly members. Thank you to anyone who's donated or a monthly member at buymeacoffee.com/Cherries Red Army. Details in the description below if you want to support the channel. But the best thing you can do right now is smash that like button on this video and subscribe as we chase down 2,000. Thank you to John. Thank you to Josh. Thank you to David. If you've watched this back on replay, thank you very much. Thank you to all the fans, wherever you are in the world, who have joined us interactively. Thank you for using the chat. It's been a great stream. First one of 2024. We're back on Thursday to talk about the FA Cup against QPR and a few friends, Asmir Begovic and Steve Kirk. Until the next one, we'll see you soon. Up cherries.
Up the cherries.
Up the cherries.